Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for the organizing this awesome event and inviting me for speaking here. So, so in this talk, I'll be sharing about my experience and research in hacking games and bypassing anti-cheats. So the question is why? Why would you want to do that? And to be honest, I don't know. Maybe you just want to admit that you suck at gaming, or maybe you just want to have fun seeing people through walls or shooting at their head without even aiming at their heads. Or maybe you just want to earn a lot of money because uh, making cheats is a multi-million dollar industry and people are living on it. And also, the things that you learn from game hacking is also the things that you learn from game hacking can also be applied in other fields like malware analysis, because the things that you learn like internal Windows API and undocumented function can also be used in other stuff. So, so despite all these reasons, I would still do not recommend you to cheat in the games because it ruins the experience for others. So anyone here ever played competitive games like Apex Legend, Valorant, Paladins, Fortnite? Okay. So I guess no one even used any cheats before. So I myself have been playing games for a lot of time, and I was always curious, like how these hackers are able to hack this game. Like for example, this. So if you don't know what this game is, this is Valorant, and currently it has one of the best anti-cheat in the market called Vanguard, because it runs at the boot of Windows, and it keeps on running at the background 24/7, even if you are not playing games. So and it's not me. So I found this somewhere on Instagram. So how did he do it? Uh, Maybe you'll find out at the end of the video. So, so a little bit about myself. I'm Rohan Aggarwal. My handle is Nahorag, and I have a small company in India called Defco Security, which provide penetration testing and continuous asset management services. I do bug bounties as well, and I've participated in HackerOne and Integrity live hacking events. And I love playing games, of course, without cheats. And so the agenda is get you all started in game hacking and demonstrate some working methods that still work for bypassing the anti-cheats, and encourage more research in this field, because currently game hacking is what was penetration testing or bug bounties 10 or 15 years back. So there's not many resources online. So also to encourage the anti-cheat developers to make a more powerful anti-cheat. Currently, it's already powerful, but still there is always room to improve. So before we start, I want to clarify what this talk is not about. So usually when I talk about game hacking, people assume that I'm finding vulnerabilities in anti-cheat code itself or game code itself, and exploiting it to hack other players or hack company servers. So this talk is not about that. This talk is basically all about gaining the competitive advantage over other players. So I've divided this talk into four sections. In the first one, we'll quickly see the history of cheats and anti-cheats. And in the next section, we're going to see some basic stuff that you need to know for game hacking. And in the next section, we'll go development for finding hooks, drivers. And in the last, I will show you a demonstration of one of the popular Twitch game, uh, which I hacked only for research purposes. So a little bit history about game hacking. So the very first game was made in 1957, and it was a tennis game, but it was not publicly available because it was in a laboratory. And fun fact, the guy who made that game was also responsible in making of first nuclear bomb. So a very talented guy. But the video games gained its popularity in 1970s and 1980s. You know, when the games were introduced for public use. And in 1980s, modding of games started happening using command line hex editor tools. And and the first aimbot was developed in 1995 for Doom 2 game. But the things started getting heating up when popular games like Counter Strike 1.6 started launching in early 2000. Because you see, when the cheating was done on single player games, uh, the only thing that is getting destroyed is the hacker that is doing the game, that is hacking the game, and not the others player or company servers. But when these multiplayer games get launched, that's when things went serious, because hackers were directly impacting others player experience, and sometimes even the servers as well. And since the success of online games depends on the current active user base, how much game is popular, so the developers can let go of the small set of people ruining the experience of others. So that's when in 2000 came the Punk Buster, which was the first anti-cheat, and in 2002 came VAC, which is Valve anti-cheat. So initially they were very successful in stopping most of the cheaters, but as they were only user mode cheats, so very quickly the hackers shift their cheats to the kernel level, so that way they were able to bypass them. So soon after that came these and kernel level anti cheats like Easy Anti Cheat, Battle Eye, or Vanguard. And currently we are at this stage where they are mostly able to stop, but not all the hackers. So I'm hoping you guys know the difference between user mode and kernel mode. But if you still don't, I'll give an example. Like whenever you open a browser, so that is opened in user mode, and all the core functionalities that it does, it happens in kernel mode. Like you are downloading a file and it needs to be returned to the hard disk. So it needs to it make the system call in the kernel for getting the access to the hard drive and storing that on the hard disk. So the main point with respect to game hacking is that a user mode process doesn't have access to the kernel mode processor and memory. So like if the anti-cheat is in user mode, so you can simply make a driver in kernel mode, and the anti-cheat will not be knowing because it's in user mode, and in the kernel mode they don't have access to that. So these are some of the features of kernel anti-cheats. Think of anti-cheat like a classic anti-debugger, and it has various signature detections. So just like antivirus have signatures for viruses, so anti-cheat also have signatures for cheats. So initially, kernel anti-cheat was a big step for the good of gaming community. Right when it's launched, 95% of the cheaters were instantly vanished from the servers. And of course, it can't stop 100% of the cheaters because even anti-cheat developers know that there will always be a dedicated or determined ones that will always find a way uh, to hack into the game. So now we can move to the basics. So anyone who is making a cheat first has to decide whether he wants to make an internal cheat or an external. So internal, as the name suggests, is injected directly into the game memory. So as it has direct access to the game, it has great performance and it is much flexible. By flexibility, I mean it has great functionality. It has great flexibility in adding the new cheat functionalities. And internal cheats are mostly preferred for games with low level or no anti cheats. And external are, as the name suggests, is have their own processes and they manipulate the memory of the game externally. And Therefore, since they are external for each read and write, they are making different calls. So therefore, their performance is low as compared to internal, and the functionality that they offer is also low. But it's enough for doing what we want to do. For example, if you want to simply do wall X or aimbot, you can do that stuff here. And external cheats are mostly preferred for games with strong anti-cheats, because strong anti-cheats have great detection vectors for internal hacks. So that's why we prefer external for strong anti-cheats. So we will be focusing on external only. So how do these hackers bypass these kernel anti-cheats? So as you can see here, we have our cheat which is in user mode, and we have our game as well. And in the kernel, we have the anti-cheat driver, which is supposed to protect the game's memory. So as you can see, we are trying to read write directly from user mode, and for reading, we need to have the handle for we need to create the handle to the game memory. So what anti-cheat does is it uses the OB register callback, and as soon as it detects the handle, it completely blocks it. So in order to bypass that, we also need to go to the kernel level as well. So we basically create the driver, and we load it into the kernel space, and we send the instruction from user mode to our driver, and our driver will be doing the stuff for us. For example, reading, writing the memory. So what are the challenges? Like if you want to make your own kernel level cheat, what are the challenges that you will be facing? The first one is how you can create your driver. The second one is how you can load the driver into kernel. Like, is it allowed to even load any driver into the kernel? And how can you communicate from user mode to the kernel mode? For example, you have user mode cheat. How will you send instructions to your driver in the kernel? And lastly, even after doing all this, how will you make your driver undetected? Because it will be making a lot of noise at the kernel level. So you need to also make sure that it don't get caught up with the anti-cheat. So now we can move to the cheat development phase. So basically, I've divided the whole cheat development cycle into 5 parts. The first one, which is reversing. So basically, you need to know what kind of cheat you are making, like what things you need to manipulate, what things you need to read. So for that, you need to reverse the game for finding those things. Then you need to create the driver that will read write memory, that will send. And third is the hooking, which is the communication part, which handles the communication from user mode to kernel mode. Then the fourth is loading driver. How will you load the driver? And the fifth is the creating user mode. So now we can go deep into all these stuff. The first one is reverse engineering. So usually in game hacking, what we are doing is reading some address in the memory. For example, you want your health to be infinite. So you need to first find the address of that health variable into the memory. So for that, you need to reverse the game. So usually there are two ways you can do that. The first one is debugging, that is used usually cheat engine. So maybe you have used in your childhood for hacking games. And the second one is using disassembling using IDA or any other disassembler. Now, I personally prefer cheat engine because uh, it gets the job done easily and conveniently. With IDA, there are a couple of things that you need to take care of. First, the game binary is heavily obfuscated. So you need to deobfuscate it first. And for doing that, you need to dump the binary using a kernel driver. And the second thing is you need to be well aware of how that game is based on. Like, is it based on a Unity engine, or is it based on Unreal Engine? So you need to know the structure of that for disassembling using IDEA. So that's why I stick it to cheat engines. So for that, you don't need to worry about all those stuff. So before I go into reverse engineering, I first need to clarify what are the offsets, as they are very important point in reverse engineering. So offset by the name suggests is how far is something with respect to another, and why is it important? Why is it important here? So as you can see, we have starting point A, and A is 0 kilometer away from starting point. B is 12 kilometers. So we can say that B offset is 12 kilometer away. So why is it important in game hacking? So basically, the thing happens is whenever you load a game into the memory, every time it will be having a different address. So like as you can see here, we have first launch. So you can see the game is launched at 0x123 address. On the second launch, you can see game is launched at 456 address. So let's say I want to set my health to whatever I want to. So at the first launch, I have to reverse the game using whatever cheat engine or disassembler. So and we get the address 126. So the second time also I have to do the same thing. So instead of not reverse engineering again and again, what I will do is find the offset of the health from the starting point, which is the game base address. So I know here, if you see one common thing, that health is always 3 bytes away from the game memory. As in first launch also, it's 3 bytes away, and second launch also 3 bytes away. So what I can do is uh, says the health offset is always 3 byte away. So I can always find the game memory first, which is very easy to find using Windows APIs or Windows function. So to clarify all this uh, again, so let's say we have a game, we launch the game, and inside we have two structures only, which is enemy and player. And whenever you load the game, the um structure and the members of it will always be side to side. Like you can see that ammo will always be 4 bytes away from player structure, but the player structure itself can be loaded anywhere into the memory. So, so let's say I want to set my player ammo to 40. So first way I can do that is I get the address of the ammo. We are basically dereferencing the address, and then we set it to 40. Another better way to do that is that since we know that ammo address is 4 bytes away from player structure, so we can find the player structure address, add 4 bytes to it, and we'll get the ammo address, and we can then set to 40. Even better ways to do that is to find the game address. And since we know that player structure is 10 bytes away from game, so we can just add game address plus 10 bytes, which will give us player structure. And we can then add 4 bytes, which will give us ammo address, and we can then set to 40. And and this is how we will be representing what ammo offset is, which is game exe plus 10, which will point to 4, and we can set that to ammo address. So I have a quick demo for offsets, but I think since we are short of time, and there are a lot more things that I need to cover here, so I'll just keep that for at the end, and if we have time, I'll play that. So this is a screenshot from that demo. Basically, we basically find the paladins, which is a game protected by EAC. Using cheat engine, we found the health offset, which is a 5-level deep pointer, and and this is a very simple C++ program which only works for games that don't have anti-cheats. So this is just to show you that how easily we can using C++ read or write the memory for the games that don't have anti-cheat. So the next we can move to creating kernel driver, and for that we will be needing some tools like Visual Studio, WDK, and debugger for debugging. And so before I overwhelm you with the whole cheat I would first like to show you the Hello World driver itself, like how the driver you can make it and how you can debug that. So so yeah. So yeah, so as you can see, if you have ever coded in C++, so you know that the starting point is always void main. Same here for driver itself. Also, the starting point is driver entry, and you can also customize the starting point in the linker setting as well. Just make sure whatever the driver entry is here, the linker setting will be having that. So basically, what we are whenever we load our driver, it will first go to driver entry, and since the driver doesn't unload itself, we need to create an object for unloading as well. So that's what we have done here. We created the object, and inside object we just simply printed that we are out of the kernel, and it also has a header file as well for defining these function. Now I can show you how it actually works, how what happens in the background. So I have here a virtual box running latest Windows. So this is our hello driver, and for loading it, one of the ways you can load it is Windows has internal way of loading using test signing mode. So you need to enable test signing mode. As you can see on the bottom right, we have test mode open, and using that you can load any driver. But the thing is, if you are inside the test mode, you cannot launch any game because anti cheats will be detecting this mode. So it's just for testing your drivers and debugging them. So first you need to, for entering test mode, you need to set that command in command prompt bcd edit dot set, and then you need to reboot your system, and it will be booted into test mode. So the next thing is you need to create is the service. So I have already so I've already created the service. So as you can see, it already failed. So to load this driver into the kernel, all you have to do is uh, sc create the driver name. So yes, we start. So the driver is loaded, and if I can show you in the driver view, so it is showing all the currently driver that are loaded on the system. So yeah, this one. So as you can see, the driver is loaded, and in the debugger also I can show you the message. just make sure the capture kernel is open, and now I will now unload the driver, and it should print the message. Yeah, so whatever the debug message we send, it just printed on the kernel, and we are able to see that here. So now, as we have seen, the driver itself, a very basic driver. The next thing which is very important here is hooking. So in order to read write the target memory using our loaded driver, we need a communication path for that. So as you can see here, we are trying to communicate to our driver, which is in the kernel, and we can't actually communicate through it. So hooking actually provides a path for it. And hooking basically what does is it changes the flow of execution of a function. So how are we going to do that is we will hijack a system call which is already provided inside the Windows driver. You can use any Windows driver like dxg kernel.sys, which is DirectX driver, or Intel drivers. So they have system calls in that. So what you'll do is you'll place your instruction that, hey, I want to communicate with my driver, and here I have set an instruction or a shellcode in starting of the system call. So whenever I call that system call, uh, the system call will transfer our instruction to the driver itself. And to understand that in detail, I have a diagram. I have a diagram here. So as you can see, we have a user mode and the kernel. We have the driver with the system call, which we are going to hook to, and we have a driver as well. So you can see that we are trying to communicate, but we can't do that because the way we will be loading our driver, which is manual mapping, we can't do that. So in order to do that, we are invoking a system call with our instruction, which is whatever read or write you want to do, and it will go to a system call. And inside system call, what we have done is we have added a shell code, which is basically doing, which is basically what it's doing is setting the racks register to the address of our function in our driver and jumping to that. So using hooking, uh, we are able to hook the system call, which will be sending the instruction to a driver. Basically, we are able to communicate with the driver itself. So till now, what we have done is basic hello world driver. We have seen how we can communicate with the driver, which is using hooking. And so what else we need to do with the driver as well? I'll show that. So the first thing it should have is able to get the system call address. So if I go to previous slide, so as you can see, we are invoking the system call. So for that, we need to get the address of that first. So it should be able to get that address, and the second part is hooking. It should be able to place the shell code into the system call, and the third is hook handler itself. For so basically, whatever the instruction we are sending to our driver, it should be handle. It should be able to handle whether it's read or write. And the fourth one is clearing the traces. So whenever we load a driver, it creates not of noise, and there are some uh, tables inside which these things get logged. So you need to also clear those things. So I can just go over the driver itself, the code of the driver itself. So just like I showed you in the Hello World driver, we have here a driver entry, and we have a kernel function. So we can. So just to give you overview, uh, this is the part where we are getting the system call address. So in this, we are targeting the system call, which is NT open composition, which is very big, and this system call is inside the dxg kernel.sys. So we are targeting that, and here we are placing our shell code into that thing so that it can transfer our instructions, and this is the hook handler, which will be handling all the instruction that we are sending, whether it's read or write. So there are a lot more stuff going on, and I can't like explain all this stuff. You need to. Most of them are undocumented functions, so you need to explore it on your own and see what is going on at the end. Maybe just Google these function, and you'll get to know what is happening. And I can show you what is happening at the back end. So I already have here the driver itself, and let me open a debugger. We need to do the kernel debug local. So now I'll here just reload the driver, which is having our system call. And now if we should be able to disassemble this driver, and to show you the system call in this. So this is the system call. So as you can see, we got the system call, and if you see the first few instruction that there is no move racks or whatever the shellcode which we will be placing. So now I'll just load the driver, and you can see our shellcode which will be placed inside here. Okay. This is our driver. Oh, I forgot to put the mapper in here. Anyway, so whenever we will be loading this driver, so what you'll see is the shell code which I was talking before, the move rack, jump racks. It will be pushed on the very first instruction of the system call. So whenever I will be invoking that, it will be jumping to our hook handler, which will be handling all the instruction. So we have seen the driver itself. Then the next slide is very important, as it can make or break your cheat itself. So what are the detection vectors while you are using this hook? So the very first thing is the hook function itself, the system call that I was talking about. Uh, that is very widely known by the anti-cheat. So if you use that, you will instantly get detected. So you need to find your own system call. It can be inside that DXG kernel.sys, or you can find your own driver, uh, or you can find your own driver in which you can find your own system call. And the second thing that you need to take care of is the shell code itself, uh, the assembly code that you are pushing inside the system call move racks, jump racks. So this is also very the anti-cheat have made signature of. So you need to create your own shell code which will be doing the same stuff as what this is doing. The one that I'm using has 11 line of assembly, and the hook function that I'm using is totally in different driver. So as you can see, this is a screenshot of the driver itself. So this hook function, you need to change the anti-open and the shellcode which we are placing. You need to change those in order to be undetected. Now I can't tell you what you should do, because as soon as I do that, the everyone is watching this. So as soon as I do that, the anti-cheat company will make signature for it, or if we use it or many people use it, they will get to know about it, and they can easily make signature and it will get banned. So the next thing is, how will you load the driver? You have created your driver, you got the hook. The next question is how you can load it. So one way I showed you was the test signing mode, but the thing that in that is it doesn't work with modern anti cheats. So you can't so you using that you can't load your driver. The next thing is you can pay money to Microsoft to get your driver signed by them, which will give you the certificate for that. But the thing is you have to pay it, and it can be easily revoked by them if it gets reported or if it gets detected. So the next best way you can do is exploit. So basically, you exploit the officially signed driver itself. For example, uh, this is a tool called KD Mapper. What it does is there is a vulnerability inside a Intel driver, which is IQVW, and it exploits the vulnerability in it to manually map our driver into the kernel memory. What I mean by manually mapping is it allocates some memory and it just throws our driver into that memory. So that way, using some vulnerable driver which are officially signed, you can load your unsigned driver into the kernel memory. And to do that, all you need to do is KD mapper the driver itself. Uh, and one thing which is also beneficial for you of using this KD mapper is that it will automatically clear most of the traces. Like the most major traces are unload driver, PIDB cache, and G kernel. So these are all get tracked inside the kernel when you load your driver, when you hook it. So this tool automatically clears those, but it doesn't clear everything. So you need to reverse the anti-cheat itself and see what kind of buckets or logs they are checking inside the kernel itself. Yeah, this is one of the easiest step for creating the user mode. All you need to do is you need to be able to call your hook function, and you need to be able to prepare those instructions. Like if you are sending read, you need to be able to prepare those instructions, and if you are sending write, you need to be able to do that. But it gets complex when you do other stuff like aimbot or ASP, because that requires doing calculation, trigonometry stuff. So in those cases, uh, making the user mode it get complex. But usually for other stuff like reading memory, it's very easy for creating the user mode. So now I can quickly just show you uh, the hack that I made for a very popular game. So the game is Apex Legends, and maybe you have played it or not, but it's uh, just below the Valorant in terms of Twitch streaming. So I've just fast forward, just create, just finding the match. And what I've done in this cheat is I've added the glow on enemies itself, so I'll be able to see them through the walls. And I've also added the items glow as well, so you can see the uh, items that, for example, you need to loot a specific kind of gun like sniper, so you can see through walls where that gun is. So, this I've recorded just 2 3 days back. So this is the user mode. I've already loaded the kernel driver into the kernel. I've just run the user mode. So as you can see, I'm able to see people through walls. And if I'll go any closer, I'll also be able to see the loot. So as you can see, the blue ones are the I've already highlighted a certain kind of weapons which I can see through walls so that I can uh, loot them. So this is the bonus stuff. So the problem with the stuff which I showed you earlier is that thing works for most of the game here, but there is one exception which is Valorant. It has a very powerful anti-cheat, and the things that is not working with what I was showing you earlier is that the way we were loading the driver, we are not able to do that here, because in that case we were loading the driver in the user mode, and whenever we start the game, at that point anti-cheat runs. But in case of Valorant, the anti-cheat runs starting from the boot itself. So we need to find a way to load the driver before we can even start the system. So one of the ways we can do that is using the BIOS. So in BIOS generally we can't load the driver, but we can use an alternate way, is by using UEFI. So it's like a modern BIOS. So you put the driver of UEFI and your driver inside the USB, and you plug the USB into your system, and then you reboot. And just like when you install Windows using USB, it will first it will launch the BIOS, and in the BIOS you will find the UEFI loader, and in that you can load your driver, and that way you can load your driver without before the Windows starts. The other hacks which are relevant for Valorant is external hardware hacks. So so there were many recently many people were making pixel bot for Valorant. So as you can see, the enemy here, it is highlighted with a red color. So they have made a Python script which simply find these pixel on the screen and aims at that pixel. So initially they were working the Python scripts, but they were easily getting detected. So next thing they did is they used Arduino for doing that. So whatever the mouse event, for example clicking and all, it was handling by the Arduino itself again, and using hypervisor, it was able to simulate a secondary mouse. So again, this was in August. It got patched by Valorant, the hypervisor. And the next thing the now hackers what are doing is they are using USB host shield on the top of the Arduino. So now you can just simply plug your mouse to the Arduino, and your Arduino you can plug to the computer. So it's like having aimbot inside your mouse itself. So I don't know how they will detect it or they will patch it, but let's see. So here I will be sharing the driver, the code for the user mode and kernel mode by the end of the day. And These are some of the references which helped in making of this slide, this presentation. The guided hacking. This is a paid website which has a great community, and it costs around $20 for a year, so it's cheap. So you so it's like a go-to for game hacking. You can find a lot of tutorials and stuff. The second one is unknown cheats. It's a game hacking form, and the information there is scattered, so you need to research whatever you want to find. You will get there, but you need to research on it. And the third one is this guy Null. He posts videos about making kernel cheats. So that's it. Thank you everyone. I hope you liked it.